Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to take a look at the Transformers Legacy Evolution Core Class Soundblaster. Let's start off by taking a look at the packaging, and then we will get into the review. So of course we have Transformers on the side, the Legacy Evolution logo there. We have Soundblaster with a very small Decepticon symbol. This is an 8+ figure, an open window displaying the figure in the packaging. We do have a really cool piece of artwork of Soundblaster in his really cool Boombox mode, ejecting, I'm assuming that is Buzzsaw. If you do flip to the top, there's some really nice mechanical artwork there, and of course we do have the Legacy Evolution logo there as well. If you do flip to the side, there is Core Class in several different languages. We also do have another really cool piece of artwork of Soundblaster in his robot mode. If you do flip to the back, this figure transforms in 8 steps. There's 2 really cool product shots, one of the robot and cassette player mode, and finally, of course, there is his name written in some really cool white text with a very small Decepticon symbol next to it. And on the final side, this is only half of the Legacy Evolution artwork, so if you do get another Core Class figure like Sludge or Slug, you can actually put the boxes together to complete the full artwork, which I will do whenever I get one of those in hand. But that looks really cool. There's a ton of references. There's Tarn's face, there's an Armada Optimus Prime, there's another Optimus Prime, there's Hotshot from Armada. So I think that we're going to get some really cool figures in this Legacy Evolution line. And that is pretty much it for the packaging, so let's now get into the review. Here we have Soundblaster in his cassette player Boombox mode. Let's start off by taking a look at the details. Starting at the very front, we have some really nice silver on the sides, of course, mostly black at the main middle section of the Boombox. Some really nice gold highlights going to the center of the whole, cassette player box section. Really nice gold in the entire outer edge for classic Decepticon symbol in the center, and a little line of gold there as well, and some really nice transparent purple plastic for the windscreen, which I think looks super cool. Also, a really nice detail they added is if you put Buzzsaw in there, which I'll show in just a sec, you can actually see him through the window, which is a really nice detail. Also, of course, we do have the control panel done, all the buttons in silver, which is pretty cool. Of course, there's the forward arrow, the back, the pause, and the play, and there's this little dot here, which I think is maybe the headphone jack, which is a really nice detail that they really did not have to do. Let's actually flip to the side now. So there is a bit of hollowness, and if you do want to fix that, there is actually sort of 2 positions or 2 configurations you can display the feet that will actually fix that problem, which I'll show in just a sec. And now flipping to the back very quickly, overall pretty plain and simple. If you do have Soundwave, which this is of course just a straight up repaint, redeco of that figure, you know exactly what to expect with this one. Pretty plain back here. Of course, we do have the arms. Some people this bothers them. Personally, it really doesn't bother me whatsoever. If you want to, you can actually get a little creative and say these are actually like the batteries or the battery compartment, which I think is a pretty cool backstory for that. That is pretty much it detail-wise. Let's now get down to the 2 configurations of how you can display the feet. So one of them is being this one, which is actually sort of the unofficial kind of fan mode. This is what people came up with, because how Hasbro did it does not look good in my opinion. It really does not look good. So, what Hasbro decided to have them positioned as is you push them down like this, and it will fill in that space on the side. So this is how Hasbro decided to display the feet. I don't like it whatsoever. That's just my opinion. There is a plus. Again, it does fill in that gap on the side. If that is really what bothers you, you can go ahead and do that. Of course, you do have these little sections sticking up at the top, which I don't like whatsoever. So I typically go with the more fan unofficial mode, which is displaying the feet on the top like this. I think that looks way better in my opinion. Let's now get down to the accessories. So it does come with one little cassette, which is actually Buzzsaw. So if you do have Kingdom Core Class Soundwave, he actually did come with a little cassette himself. He came with a Laserbeak. So let's do a quick mini cassette comparison. So here we have a Laserbeak and here we have Buzzsaw, and my eyes might be playing tricks on me, but I think Laserbeak might be bigger. I think he might be bigger from the front view, and I think he might be thicker from this side. Again, I could be wrong. If you have this figure, please do let me know if I'm right or wrong, but I think he is a little bit bigger. I'm pretty sure he still can fit into Soundblaster. I'm pretty sure, of course, you can get, if you want to get Buzzsaw and put him in Soundwave. That is still an option. But that is overall pretty much it for the comparison, and you can display this inside there. But first, I do want to show all this really nice detail. There's some really nice detail back there, and of course that transparent purple plastic is actually really cool that they put that there. And you just put it in the little tray, close this up, and you can storm inside there, and a really nice detail is you can see him through the window, which I think is Very, very cool. Let's now move on to the other accessories. So he does come with the same two that came with Soundwave, the same blaster. So he does come with his typical handheld blaster. Sculpt-wise, of course, the same as Soundwave, just different paint apps, of course, now done in black, red, and of course the silver for the barrel is the exact same, which I think overall looks very cool. I'm just going to quickly show the storage, and of course I'll go into greater detail of the weapons whenever he is in his robot mode. So there is a port and there is a peg, and you just store it right on the back of the boombox, which I think is overall pretty good storage in my opinion. So there we go. As for his last accessory, his shoulder cannon, now done in black and red for the little missiles. Of course, Soundwave was done in blue and silver, I'm pretty sure. And the same storage, there is a peg and there is a port, and you just plug it in there just like that, and that is it for the storage. Overall, pretty good. I actually think it looks a little bit better this way because it does fill in those little empty holes on the sides. It actually makes it a little bit more flat, and actually maybe makes it a little bit more chunky and substantial, actually a little bit more heavy, adds some heft to it, which I think is pretty good. Now for one quick boombox comparison, here he is with his previous mold mate, Soundwave from Kingdom. Also a core class figure. As you can see, mold-wise, they are the exact same thing. Really, it's just up to your personal preference of which deco you like more. In my personal opinion, I actually probably prefer the cassette player of Soundwave, but in the robot mode, I prefer the robot mode of Soundblaster. But that is just my opinion. Let me know which one you like more in the comment section down below. But that is pretty much it for this comparison and the boombox mode. Let's now get down to transformation into the robot mode. So now for transformation to the robot mode, what you're going to want to do is get the legs. You're just going to untab it from the body. So there is a tab on the main body of the boombox, and there is a slot on the inside of the leg. So you're just going to hinge this down and swivel it and hinge it forward. And there we have one leg all done. Do the same thing on the other side. So just untab it, hinge that down, swivel it to the forward like that. And if you're wondering, the transformation for Soundblaster is the exact same as Soundwave. So if you have that figure, you know exactly what to expect and to do here. Now for the arms, you're going to flip to the back. You're going to untab the arm from the back here. So there is a tab there, and there is a slot on the inside of the forearm. You're just going to hinge this forward, flip out the hand, and of course do the same thing on their side. So there is actually a butterfly joint. Just hinge that forward and then flip the hand out, and there we have the arms and the hands all done. Now for the last step, just flip the head up, rotate it around, and there we have Soundblaster in his robot mode. Let's now take a look at the details. Here we have Soundblaster in his robot mode. Let's start off by taking a look at the details. Starting at the very top, we have some really nice silver for the entire mouth guard, some really nice dark red for the visor, and some black for the main helmet section. As for the arms, some black for the shoulder, some gray for the forearm, and some black for the hand. I think the chest and crotch look really good, really well detailed. Of course, a lot of this detail we did go over earlier, so I'm not going to spend that much time. So there's some really nice gold on the outer edge of the chest. There's some really nice transparent purple plastic for the windscreen or the chest area. Very classic Decepticon symbol, and you can actually see Buzzsaw through there, which I think is a really nice detail. And of course we have the entire control panel as the stomach and crotch. Silver for the buttons. Of course there's the forward arrow, the back of the pause, and the play. Really glad that ended up there. I think that looks really good and very classic to Soundwave or Soundblaster. Same detail on the other arm. As for the legs, this is, I would say, the majority of where the new details actually are, of course, because all of this was hidden before and collapsed up in the other modes. So there's quite a bit of silver and white for the front of the legs, some gray for the top, and some gray for the feet. Overall, pretty simple. I actually do prefer this deco in the robot mode over Soundwave. That is just my opinion. As for the side, overall, pretty plain. And the back, there is just a little bit of hollowness in the back of the legs, but everything else is pretty well filled in and really well sculpted. Pretty clean, and I actually do quite like this mold. That's pretty much it for the details. Let's now get down to articulation. So if you do have Kingdom Core Class Soundwave, it is the exact same. So the head can move back and forth, of course, or look up and down, look side to side. My shoulder joints on this copy are actually really tight, so I'm not going to push anything, but it can move all the way out and move all the way around. There's also a butterfly joint due to transformation. Of course, there's also a full rotation at the forearm. It's on a ball joint. There's also an elbow bend. As for the hand, no wrist rotation, but it can collapse. That's really due to transformation. Unfortunately, no waist rotation. As for the legs, they can do a full splits. They can kick that far forward. Unfortunately, this whole panel here does not move, so it's a little bit limited. It can kick that far back. There is also a slight, I would say, knee bend. You can't, again, really kick it out that far to do an actual knee bend because this panel is blocking it. There is a swivel at the leg, and there is no ankle pivots, but the foot can rotate all the way around because it is on a ball joints. And that is pretty much it. I'd say pretty good articulation for such a small figure. Again, I'm not that picky with core class figures because they're so cheap. Yes, there's a few things they could have done better, like maybe a wrist rotation and a waist swivel. I think they definitely could have done because quite a few core classes do have a waist rotation. And unfortunately on my copy, which this really isn't just, I would say, the mold, this is really just tolerances. My legs on this copy, I would say, are a tad bit too loose, but that could just be me being a little bit picky. But let's now get down to the accessories. Let's quickly go over them. So of course, the first thing is buzzsaw, which can still just stay inside his chest. That's the number in place I showed earlier, so not much to talk about there. As for the weapons, that's a little bit new. So he does have his shoulder cannon done in black and the really cool red for the bullets. This stores on his shoulder, so there is a peg and a port that just plugs in right there, like that. And there we go. He's almost already fully complete, which looks pretty cool just like that. And of course his handheld blaster, which I typically will put it in the opposite side so they're not on the same side. I think that just looks a little bit better, but there's some really nice silver, really nice stripe of red and black. And there is a peg and a port, and this just plugs right into his hands. And there we have the full, complete Soundblaster. I think that looks super cool. Let's now get down to some core class comparisons. So first up, here he is with the previous version of this mold, Soundwave. And again, mold-wise, they are the exact same thing, really just down to your personal preference of which deck you like more. I actually think I like Soundblaster more. Again, my opinion, people might be like, what, are you crazy? Soundwave is so much better. I just kind of really like the red and the purple and the dark black. I think that looks really good. But again, my opinion. Let me know which one you like more in the comment section down below. Now for another core class comparison, here he is with Legacy Shockwave. And here he is with Legacy Iguanas. Still to this date, my favorite core class ever. And I do have to zoom out just a tad bit to get one more comparison. Here he is with Legacy Evolution Needle Nose, which the review should be up very, very soon. And I think they look very cool next to each other. And of course, I actually do have some other Legacy Evolution figures coming very soon, so make sure you stay tuned for those on the channel. That is pretty much it for the comparisons and the robot mode. Let's now get down to the final thoughts. Now for the final thoughts for the Transformers Legacy Evolution Core Class Soundblaster. I think overall this figure is pretty good, but I do have to be quite honest, do you have to get this figure? Is this a figure that I would say is a must-have? No, I really wouldn't, because of course this is just a straight redeco, and yes, the other two core class figures in this first wave are definitely probably quite a bit more interesting. Of course, there's Dynamite Sludge, there's Dynamite Slug, so if you are a limited budget and you only want to get like the best figures, or if you have limited space, I would probably go for those two, and maybe wait on this one, maybe if it goes on sale or something like that. I actually do quite like it. I think probably for the robot mode, this is my preferred deco over Soundwave. For the cassette player mode or the Boombox mode, I think I probably like Soundwave's deco more. That is just my opinion. Let me know in the comment section down below between those two molds, which one do you like more? Or of course two redecos. Getting of course into the final thoughts, starting in the robot mode, I actually really do like the look of this. The silver on the legs, the really dark black, and the purple for the chest and the red, I think just looks super cool. All the colors I think just really work well together. Of course he does include 3 accessories, pretty much the exact same sculpt as Soundwave. The shoulder cannon, the hand blaster, I really do like the black and the red and silver on the hand blaster. I think that looks really good next to each other. And the third accessory being the little cassette piece of Minicon, which is Buzzsaw. Let me know in the comments if you have this figure and if you have the same thoughts, because I put Laserbeak and a Buzzsaw side by side, and I think Laserbeak might be bigger. I think he's also thicker and also bigger both ways. I could be wrong, my eyes could be playing tricks on me, but every time I pick them up and make that comparison and just look at them, I think it's bigger. I could be wrong. Again, let me know in the comment section down below if you have that same thought. Articulation is overall pretty good. Unfortunately, I was actually hoping This is actually my same hope for Soundwave. I probably mentioned this in that review as well, but it would have been nice maybe if this front control panel could have moved up like little flaps so the articulation could be better, because the leg kicking forward and back is slightly limited because the back panel and front panel cannot move whatsoever, so it is a little bit limited. Also, I would like the legs to be just a tad bit tighter, but that is a very minor complaint. Everything else is pretty good. Unfortunately, no waist rotation, which again, I'm not typically that picky with core classes. Also, this is a redeco of Soundwave. He didn't have a waist swivel either, so I was kind of expecting that. But overall, just the look, and he can go into some really cool poses. I really do like the robot mode. Getting down to a course transformation, the exact same as Kingdom Core Class Soundwave. It's overall pretty simple, even if you don't have this figure. I think it's 8 steps. You really just kind of fold everything up. Getting into the Boombox mode, I actually do quite like it. In my preference, my opinion, I do like Soundwave Boombox mode better. That's just my opinion, but I do quite like this one. I really do like the purple as the windscreen. It's actually super cool. You can see Buzzsaw through there in the robot and in the cassette player mode. I just really like that feature. The accessory storage isn't bad. Of course, there's the cassette in the chest and the 2 weapons just store on the back. I don't think it's that bad. Some people think it looks a little bit ugly. Well, you know, considering it's such a small thing and there's really not that many places to put it, I don't think it's that bad. There is 2 options or a bit of customization. You can display the feet in 2 different ways. You can have them in the fan mode, which is really up top, and the official mode, you have them pointing up, which I don't really think anyone likes that. I never really understood what Hasbro was thinking when they were doing that. Maybe just budget-wise, or maybe they just didn't think of putting them up. I really do not know. I much prefer the fan mode. That is just my opinion. Of course, there is a plus to going to the official mode. It does fill in the gaps on the sides of the boombox, so there is a plus that way, but I really don't think that's worth it because the entire little front of the foot just sticks straight up, which I do not like. But overall, I really do like this figure. I highly recommend it. Again, is this a must-have figure? No, I think you could definitely go for the other core classes. If you're on a limited budget or limited space, I think you should probably go for the other ones. But if you're not, if you can find out a good deal, I recommend it. I think it's a pretty fun core class figure. Definitely my preferred deco between the 2. That's just my opinion. Hope you enjoyed this review. Of course, I actually do have a lot more Legacy Evolution coming. Pretty much every figure from Wave 1 except Breakdown. I haven't yet to find him, but every other figure is coming and I will review them as soon as I can. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of this figure in the comment section down below, and I will see you next time.